Hey, we're Blenderstyle, and we scream in silence. On this episode, we have a fan request from Riley and Taylor. Green Day, Dookie, released in 1994 on Reprise Records. Cheers, fellers!
Cheers!
Cheers.
Screaming silence doesn't make sense.
So, are you guys familiar with Green Day?
Everyone knows this band, Casey.
But does everybody know this album?
Okay, so
Yes.
yeah.
But because I want to point this out, and it's not a knock on you, Nathan, but you seem to think Nimrod and all that other stuff is good.
Oh, Nimrod's a great record.
I'm not really into like newer Green Day, but I definitely got into Dookie because I bought this CD.
Yeah.
I mean,
This might have been your second CD.
it's, yeah, dude, for sure.
So this is like,
My first CD is Aerosmith, Get a Grip. And then the second CD I probably ever bought was probably Green Day Dookie, dude.
that's awesome. I know this might sound weird and strange, but so like the band Green Day is like my Beatles.
Okay.
They wrote good pop songs with
Uh,
attitude, a sense of humor, almost kind of like the Smiths or Morrissey, you know what I mean? It was really tongue in cheek, and I really like that about Green Day. So I'll just say that. But like this album, around the time that this came out, I wasn't allowed to like listen to this type of music, and I got my hands on a cassette, and I just remember the artwork just being so fucking rad.
the artwork is rad.
Yeah, and like, it was a tape, and the cassette was clear with a blue. It was like blue where all like the song titles were and stuff.
Mhm.
And you folded it out, and like there's a knife on somebody's head. There's on the inside and everything.
Which tape was it? Or which
Dookie.
album? Oh, was it Dookie?
Yeah, and it had such an impact on me. And I used to have to put this in a Walkman to listen to it because my parents were like, you can't listen to this, right?
Not that devil music.
Right, yeah. And then some years later, me and some friends, we did a Battle of the Bands, and we sucked really bad, and we did Hitchin' a Ride off Nimrod.
Okay.
And I always wanted to play guitar, so I'm making this really long, sorry. And anyways, a guy gave me a drum set. It was a Pearl Export series.
Mhm.
Nice.
And very nice, it was vintage, and like it was really cool that this guy gave this to me. And he put it in my room, and we practiced there. And for this Battle of the Bands, we had some guy that didn't know how to play drums behind this Pearl Export series, and I was playing my Fender Stratocaster. Thought it was cool. Completely sucked at Hitchin' a Ride, the what we were gonna do, but that drum set was at my house, and I learned Green Day Dookie to the best of my ability on the drums, and that's where I found that I was a drummer. I wasn't a guitar player.
Yeah.
Really?
And I mean, the drums, and Trey Cool is like
He's 3 times.
So
He's
awesome.
very cool.
great drummer,
This is a trio, and in a good trio, like everyone's got to pull their weight
Mhm.
and be like equal parts, and the drums are absolutely
And
like
he
a
upped
lead
this
instrument. Hell yeah!
You know what I mean? Like the
You
first
go
two
back
albums,
and yes, totally agree.
it was all Billy Joe and Trey Cool like carrying this band, and now they had Trey Cool to like,
That means Trey Cool's like a influence on your drumming big time.
for sure. So the heavy on the hi-hat,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? The snare and stuff.
I love
like
all the
my-
little pauses he puts in there.
It's tasteful.
It is.
Yeah.
The drums are absolutely.
And when you try to
highlight.
play with somebody like this that plays guitar or whatever, they don't like this.
Well, I was
Right.
reading.
They don't,
I was reading when their original drummer left and they brought Trey Cool in. They actually considered breaking up as a band because they had such a hard time learning to play with his style of
Really?
music. I don't know how true that is. I just read it and I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy because, like, to be the powerhouses they are now, to almost call it quits because their drummer's too crazy for them. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. That is cool.
It's very cool. It's
Wow.
Trey cool.
Mike Dirnt's playing on this is fucking sick too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody in this band
Yeah.
plays exceedingly well.
So what's crazy is like if you listen to the first couple albums and first recordings of them, like people that love this band, like 1,000 Slappy Hours and shit like that like changed our lives. And like Billie Joe was way more into the lead guitar, was more rock and roll based. And, you know, people saying like, you know, this album sold out and shit like this. Dude, this is the most punk album I think, for them in their short discography at this time.
Really?
In my opinion.
Why is it? Because it's like faster and like...
there's no solos, dude, and
this is kind of where they found their groove. I agree with you. So the first time I was introduced to Green Day was the Basket Case, the one with the video in the mental hospital or whatever. Yeah. And I was immediately drawn to it, not because of the song or anything, but I just loved how low he wore his guitar. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
It is
fucking
cool,
Ramones, dude. I was a Ramones fan. Like, I was like, this shit just connected.
That dude's guitar's hanging at his knee, and he's still fucking just going.
It reminded me of like James Hetfield for some reason.
It was so good, and so I went back and I didn't buy this album. I think you had the album, but I think I went and bought the one with Paper Lanterns on, or Slap. Yeah. 39,000 smoothed out slap happy or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything like this. And I was like, oh.
No, it's not. The older stuff's not memorable to me.
Exactly. It was just, it was very cookie.
There's so many like...
a lot of love songs.
It was, but it was a lot of...
There was a lot of love songs in this. Dookie's like, hey, I'm pissed and I'm jerking off.
But I feel like the earlier stuff was very cookie cutter punk.
It's true though, dude.
Like, I feel like this kind of broke the mold and stepped out.
Pop punk.
I think it was poppy. Yeah, it was bubblegum pop. That
this is like...
used to...
It touches on all the subjects that weren't like... that were kind of taboo at the time, you know, depression, mental anxiety, sexuality, things that like nobody was singing about back then. It was cool as fuck. And it did it in such a way that you didn't know.
That's true. I mean, at least from my perspective, right?
Yeah.
Dude, Welcome to Paradise. I connect with that because, like, you know, in the beginning of the song, he's like, you know, pretty much talking like, what did I do? You know, I'm like living in the fucking ghetto pretty much, right? Like, and then, you know, after he's like, hey, this is my paradise, right?
Yeah.
Same thing for me, dude. I was young. I had to fucking, you know, living in the back of an alley or some shit.
Like, I fucking live with my parents.
And then you grow to fucking love it because this guy's cool, that guy's cool. It's the community. And like, that's totally what I felt with this. Like, this like, literally... Like, I'm trying not to be over, like, joyful and stuff because... This band is like huge for me, Casey. So I'm so happy that you like picked this and this album.
I didn't pick it.
It's not even a fan, yeah. But you picked it.
Yeah. I mean, it would have eventually came about, but for sure.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from.
So I'm gonna stop acting like a puppy dog. And
I feel like this was because I wasn't really into punk. I mean, I think Offspring I didn't start listening to until after I started listening to Green Day, and Offspring to me was such a shock from what punk was supposed to be, because I felt like Green Day was kind of like the pop punk that kind of shaped the genre back in the early 90s. And then Offspring came around and they kind of incorporated more of the heavy metal into the punk or the hard rock into punk.
It was very LA sounding.
It was more gritty, and this was more
skateboard surfer
sounding.
This
was fun.
This is like the Bay Area.
Yeah, this was a great album. And it, like, I remember when the video, what was it, for When I Come Around, where they're just walking through town or whatever, they end up right back where they were at or whatever.
Excellent.
For some reason, it wasn't even a great video, but it was the coolest fucking concept in the world at the time.
Dude, like that sweater he's wearing when he's walking around, dude. Yeah. Like, I so wish I had that sweater.
Yeah, dude, when they're walking down the street. That's so good.
Dude, Billie Joe has a style, even back then.
But that concept was just so unheard of at the time. It was almost up there with the first time you heard the Prodigy Smack My Bitch Up. And you watch the video, and then
what a comparison, Casey.
You're like, what the hell just happened? That's this video.
I love that video.
It's so good.
It's such a...
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen this ancient-ass video for Smack My Bitch Up.
But even, like, the When I Come Around was such a new concept at the time for the video. I thought it was just the coolest thing ever. And it might have been used before or whatever, but to me, it was so new.
So Longview... like that video was like literally recorded like at their house or at a friend's house or something. I think I read somewhere
is that where he
Billie Joe literally recorded the vocals in like 2 days on this.
Oh, okay.
You know, And I love also that I'm still figuring out what the fuck he's saying.
I do too. So I,
Wait, let me go back to Longview. What about him writing that sick bass line on Longview? Did he just come up with that for a day? Where the hell did that come up?
he was tripping on LSD.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah.
did read that. And he wrote
came
that
up with it.
super memorable fucking bass
Oh, yeah.
line. And there's
So
like
good.
so many memorable parts on this.
Yeah, this whole album has a rawness to it, and we're kind of fanboying on it.
True.
I think it's also a groundbreaking record. I think this
I
is
agree.
one of these records in
So-
'94. You had Nirvana and stuff like that, but like some of us didn't really connect with Nirvana. I connected with Green Day. You know
I
what I
fucking
mean?
hated Nirvana.
This is their best album, hands down. I mean, it's not even
I would disagree.
really. You
Yeah.
like Insomniac?
I think Insomniac's a better record.
See, I listened to this album. I listened to the Slap Happy Hours, and it was all right, but not. This was it. And then I couldn't care less.
Could not care less.
I
Correct.
could not care less about Green Day after that until American Idiot came out. And it was such a good album. And then I went back to I haven't heard a single thing they've done since.
They have hits that come out that I like singles.
Yeah.
They're good. Father of All Motherfuckers is awful.
See, I haven't even listened
Okay,
to it.
Oh.
so anything after American Idiot is just dog shit.
I don't
Yeah.
listen to anything
And
but
American Idiot, if you go to that, like when it first came out, I thought this was the coolest thing ever. But I was also like a Green Day fan from day one.
Yeah.
Like Insomniac, I think is great because they downtuned. It just got punk as fuck,
Mhm.
and like they don't like that album apparently.
I don't like that album.
Oh, dude.
I don't like that one or Nimrod or whatever the one that came after that.
Oh my gosh. So
American Idiot I thought was good, but I hated the politicalness of it.
yeah.
it's like Californication for me from
Yeah,
Red Hot Chili Pepper. I just once they get to that level, it just gets like boring kind of. I
Yeah.
just couldn't get into Green Day after Dookie.
Yeah, see, I got into him American Idiot, and then I haven't been into him again since.
But you guys are right. We're definitely fanboying on it.
Oh, for sure.
It's
I probably started that. Sorry, guys.
well,
Damn
we
you,
all love it.
Nathan.
Clearly,
Yeah.
we all love this album to some degree, right? My favorite track. I have two favorite parts in this song or in this album. The transition from Chump to Longview. With
Oh, dude, so good. Where they come into that drum roll.
with the
It pisses me off though because when you listen to it digital, there's a little skip, a double
bugs, dude.
and it wasn't like that on the CD.
It was flawless on
Yeah.
CD. So he ends Chump with drums,
with that drum, that tom roll.
and it perfectly goes into the drums in Longview, and
Mhm.
it's such a nice transition. I love that part. I listen. This album's bangers, right? Like individual songs, but I still listen to it in order
Oh, for
most
sure.
of the time. You know what I mean? I don't just like. I
Yeah,
rarely
you don't
just
like
pick off
pick
a
and
song.
choose.
Yeah, I just play it. I just
Yeah.
play Dookie.
Well, and it's such a short. It's like 39 minutes, 14 tracks. It's a quick listen.
Dude,
And
you
then-
could always be roaming around your house just wasting time. Dude.
Exactly.
And then Welcome to Paradise is probably my favorite song on this.
Really?
Yeah, I love that. That's a re-recording from a previous album.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's if you want to see the difference between old Green Day and Dookie and the stuff before,
Listen
listen
the
to those
earlier
two
version.
songs back to back. The production on this is like that's what really nails it for me. Is
Dude, I love
they wanted to
Burnout.
be rough initially, right?
Yeah. Well, so this was their first major label release. And the reason they signed with Reprise Records was because of the producer that was working with Reprise at the time, because that was the only person they would trust to record their stuff.
Well, he fucking did
I-
a great job on this. This sounds
I forgot
great.
the name, but also this band's original name I thought was cool as fuck.
What was it?
Liquid Dookie, or this album's original name, Liquid Dookie.
I know that's just when they had like the squirts.
Yeah,
on
because
tour.
they need expired food on tour or whatever they can get their hands on.
That's gross, dude.
Feels like me at work.
I'm glad they changed it because that's a terrible. There's, if I remember correctly, there's like a dog taking a
I think there
dookie.
is on the
Dude,
cover.
there's dogs like throwing shit and everything.
So the one thing that I don't like about this album is, to me, I don't have a lot of stuff to dislike about it. I really couldn't name much of anything except for the hidden track.
Oh, you don't like that?
I like it, but I don't like the little thing before it. Yeah,
That's it. That's like
That's it. That's all.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
A little harsh there, Casey.
Some of the songs are I don't love all these songs.
So you hated this album,
I
Casey.
fucking hated it.
Like I like up to pretty much When I Come Around is where it ends good for me. They could have cut this. I don't think it's too long.
I liked Coming Clean and I liked Enemius Sleepus.
No, I didn't care for those ones.
Oh, man.
It starts to get boring for
And
me.
I liked Fuck Off and Die.
Yeah,
Full of Dookie.
I'm not that deep on Dookie, which kind of sucks because
Dude, I think that and Burnout are like my two favorite tracks.
Burnout's great.
Yeah.
So one of the things that sucks about doing this show is that we like go listen to classic albums. So when you picked it initially, or when Riley and Taylor picked it, in my head I'm like, Dookie's a 5, clearly.
Oh yeah, I was with
It's
you.
the best album I've ever heard in my life. Like if someone ran into me on the street, it's like best 5 albums of all time. Dookie might be a contender.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, depending on
It
my
depends
mood.
on your mood. Are you thinking punk or are you thinking metal?
Yeah, I'm like, sometimes it's just like all death metal albums. Most of the time. All the time it's all death metal.
Yeah.
All death metal all the time. But it's not a 5. For me, it's a 4.4 out of 5. Really, really good album, but it's not super deep where I can like really get into it and enjoy it at a level. It's just fun, but like one of the best fun albums of all time, in my opinion. 4.4 for me, boys. Nathan, Dookie.
So I'm the exact opposite with you. Like when I went into this, I was like, oh, I'm going to rate this lower than most people would rate this.
And then you listen to it and you're like, fuck.
And you know, the filler is not filler. I think those are songs that are great. And you know, what's cool about this is everyone in this band kind of wrote some of these songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really cool. This is a 5.0. This is so important to me. And it's cool to see that it's also important to Riley and Taylor.
Yeah.
And I think this is an album that's I think this is a super unknown. I think this is going to be an album that will continue to be good. 5.0.
Nice.
So I don't agree with you. This is not a super unknown, or else it would be a shitty album. I think it's a great album. I don't know that it's necessarily a 5.0. I give it a 4.0. I feel like it's there.
That seems low.
It does seem kind of low, but I also feel like maybe I played it out. And that's my other thing. It's like, I feel like, the first 3 songs, because I didn't listen to this a lot back in the day, are amazing. Longview, it kind of got played out. Basket Case kind of got played out. Welcome to Paradise kind of got played out. So even though they're great songs,
it's like my beef with it too.
They kind of like, I've heard them so many times that I'm just like, I really don't care to hear them anymore. But when we first started listening to this, coming back to it after not listening to it for 20 years or so, it was amazing. I was like, oh, dude, easy, 5.0. But then, like you said, after listening to it multiple times, the songs that I'd heard a million times already kind of were played out. And I was kind of like, I could do without them. So then once I started taking those out and skipping over them, I was like, it takes out a lot of the meat of this album.
I think there's a lot of nostalgia here.
Oh, there is,
and
for sure.
I smoked like way too many cigarettes while listening to this. And I have to just end my little thing real quick. So I talked about that tape that I had. And that tape got taken away from me. And years later, I want to say maybe 5 years ago, I went into a thrift store. And I'm always looking for tapes and CDs. And I see Dookie on cassette. And I reach for it and I say, if that has that blue label, I'm fucking buying it. And I opened it up and it had that blue label. I bought it. It sat on my shelf for 2 years later. It was still sitting there just like a prize, I hadn't even listened to it yet.
I remember seeing that at your house and asking you what that was all about.
Dude, if you have a chance and you can get a hold of it, look at the liner notes in this. It's killer.
So when you finally opened it, did it have your initials on it? Like the old one?
No. No.
This tape belongs to Nathan.
Your rating is, I think, what you're saying makes total sense for me, and it's respectable. I just thought you liked it more for some reason.
I do like it more, but I think I honestly like I've drilled into like these albums that we listened to, and I think I've played all of them out except for one. Just because I'm so familiar with them from before.
It's like easy to put this on and just
well,
jam.
but also I feel like back in the day when we were hanging out, we were listening to a lot of music and stuff. You went on that death metal kick, and I went on like the hard rock. But then I kind of went back into the punk thing while you were doing it, and so I played the shit out of a lot of these like Offspring and Green Day and Sum 41 and shit like that. And so like there's a lot of stuff that was big back then that I went back to in like my early 20s and just played 1,000 times more. And so I just kind of got burned out of it. And so when I first listened to it, I was like, oh, it's fucking 5. I forgot how great this album was. But then after a few more times through it, I was like,
same.
Eh.
See, I'm a biased motherfucker. I already admitted in this episode that this is not my favorite Green Day record, and I give it a 5.0. So that kind of shows.
Well,
that's a good point.
And let's put it that way. Let's put it that way as well.
There's probably a few more.
If I take a break from this for another like 3 or 4 years and then come back and listen to it one time, I'd probably rate it a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
But if I listen to it multiple times, it's going to go down each time.
Yeah,
okay, so if this episode ever gets 1,000 views, I'm going to get that blue tape tattooed on me.
Oh, you heard it.
1,000
views.
If we get 1,000 views on this, I will get that blue tape A-side tattooed.
A-side, huh?
Yeah, A-side.
All right. And then if it gets 10,000 likes, will you get B-side?
On my ass.
You got to show
it. Will, on my ass.
You got to show it on
camera.
I
will show it.
All right, you heard it. It's on fucking camera.
Camera.
My wife's going to kill me.
All right, so that was Green Day, Dookie. We're Blenderstyle. Let us know what you think. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.
I was all by myself. All by myself.